So Seamilk, we're back on the bikes. Now, I'd like to ask you, if you wanted to have a good, sort of fun, relaxing day out, would you consider going and standing in the middle of a massive crowd as a good way to relax?
Absolutely not, but I know a lot of people that do just that, actually.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about today, is the fact that Chinese people love crowds, and they love people. They love to be in amongst the sort of throbbing masses.
Right.
And there's a word for this. It's called renao.
Right, which loosely translates as jovial.
Yeah, I guess you could say it. Jovial.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So basically, this whole idea, those are some interesting genes. The whole idea of renao is that it's fun and, you know, the people, it's lively and, you know, there's things going on. And in a word, it really does describe what China's like.
Yeah.
That guy just curbed his wheel.
Oops.
I mean, look around us, for instance. There's things happening. Look, this guy's just pulling right in front of me. There's somebody with some like rabbits and birds and hamsters walking across the road.
The old mobile animal delivery.
Yeah, there's we're going down here, eh?
There you go.
You know, there's just stuff. There's noise. There's colors. There's people.
It's jovial.
Yeah, or chaotic.
Yeah. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's
up to you.
Up to you. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, Chinese people actually don't like it when it's quiet.
Yeah.
And it's something that's very different to the kind of culture that we grew up in. So maybe we can start by you telling a story or two of Chinese people that you know and their experiences when they go overseas.
Okay, well, a lot of people I've met actually have, I can quote them on saying this, but when they went to the US for the first time, even to a major city, when they go to the suburbs, a lot of people have land and trees and stuff in their backyard, right?
Yeah.
And they said it was actually frightening because when they'd go out, you know, to get some fresh air or whatever, there wasn't anybody around and there was no noise.
Yeah.
So for them it was this almost alarming situation where like they had this gut instinct that if something happened to them, because, you know, there's a lot of bad press about how dangerous America is, which is kind of funny, but
yeah.
they think if something happens to them, no one will be there to witness it. And there's this kind of strength in numbers mentality in China, which is, you know, all part of the collectivist society, and that's kind of how things are. But a lot of the people, like I said, that I met are scared. We're scared to be in an area where it was just woods or forest and there's nothing going on, right? So when they go abroad, it's almost alarming to them that they're not constantly around noise and lights and music pounding from shops and, you know, people lining up for fun because they like to kind of be in amongst a crowd, like you said. So I've heard that quite a few times, and while I'm sure there's people that disagree, and I'm sure there's people in the countryside that would prefer peace and quiet here, for the majority, you know, of people I know, they prefer to be in big cities where a lot of stuff is happening.
Yeah. Now, before we start talking about crowds, because I've got some stories, especially around New Year, I wanted to talk about this weird phenomenon that happens with certain restaurants, and you know, sort of, yeah. I guess we could narrow it down to restaurants here first.
Okay.
I know you've got a story about a cake shop. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
But before you get onto your cake shop story, I'm going to tell you a similar story, which happened actually this last weekend with me and my wife.
Okay.
Now, near my house, there's this tea shop. And it's a milk tea shop. You know, it's nothing fancy. They do those like, it's kind of fruit mixed with milk, mixed with powdered flavors and stuff, and put those tapioca balls and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like a Taiwanese style milk tea shop, right?
Right.
But it's incredibly famous for some reason.
Okay.
It's got a name for itself. And so every time you go anywhere near that shop, you'll see a massive queue going out onto the street.
Right.
And that's the biggest turnoff for me, by the way, because there are other milk tea shops nearby.
Yeah.
With no queues, right? And they pretty much all do the same kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Anyway, my wife constantly bugs me to go to that milk tea shop. She's like, "Oh, we got to try it. It's so famous."
Okay.
And my response is, you know what? If I have to sit there and wait for an hour to get a milk tea, I would rather go and pay 3 times the price at that shop that has no queue.
Right.
because I don't want to stand there for an hour. My time is worth more than that.
I was going to say, your issue kind of highlights a huge thing in China, and for the most part, time is not really money.
No, it's not. People seem to have enough time to just kind of, you know, do whatever they want. We could talk about that later in length.
Yeah.
Thing is, so this past weekend, I actually had to go meet someone. So usually I hang out with Sasha for the whole day and we go, you know, do stuff together. But we went out to the mall to have sort of a brunch, and then she wanted to go get this milk tea, and I said, there's no way I'm doing that.
Right.
But I have to go have a meeting. And she was like, oh, awesome. Well, you go to your meeting. I'm going to go get this milk tea.
Okay.
And she sent me pictures. In fact, I'll put one of the pictures up here.
Okay.
Of her progress during the queue. And it literally took 45 minutes for her to get a...
one milk tea.
One milk tea. And she brought it home. I actually had a taste of it. It wasn't that great.
It's just normal.
Yeah, just like you could get at the shop without a queue.
Do I have drips on my lens, by the way? Because I got sprayed.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Thing is, it's absurd to me. I would never do that. And I've got other stories like a sushi one, but I want you to tell your cake shop story. Maybe spread a little light on this whole phenomenon.
Yeah, and this is actually what takes it outside of mainland China. It's not just Chinese people. I actually think it's an Asian phenomenon. My wife actually explained this to me, and it actually ties into something really, really interesting. Now, let me ask you a question. In South Africa, if you go to buy a, let's say you want to buy a new faucet, right?
Yeah.
How many faucet shops will be around the one that you're going to go to?
I'll just go to like a general hardware store, you know, like a Home Depot type style thing.
Okay, but are there 10 other Home Depots next to it with different brands?
No. Not at all.
Right. And this is an Asian phenomenon where Asian people tend to, if they see a success of one business, start their competitive business next to it. It's in Japan, it's in Thailand, it's in Taiwan. And my wife, during her MBA, actually studied this. It's an Asian business practice.
Yeah, we have to do the twirly-whirly on the bridge. We're going that
gotcha.
way.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it also ties into the fact that if they see an area that sells a certain good, then that business owner thinks that there's a better chance that they're going to go to their shop out of randomness, right?
Okay.
So this ties into the whole milk tea thing and the cake shop thing, is when they see a crowd, when Asian people in general, East Asians, see a crowd, they think that that product is, you know, innately going to be better.
Okay, yeah.
And when I was in Taiwan, there was this cake shop that opened up down the road, and Taiwanese people, let me tell you, just like milk tea, they love their little cakes, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, I was working in an English school, and there's all of my coworkers, these Taiwanese girls, they would always come in and bring little cakes from different competitive shops, and you know, usually the wait was like, you know, a couple minutes, but this shop basically would pay people to wait in line to make it look like it was more popular.
Right.
And more now, right?
Correct.
So basically what people were doing is getting paid to stand there in line, which created bigger and bigger lines because people would pull their scooters over and be like, holy crap, what is this line? This cake must be absolutely amazing. And it got so bad that even in the little town that I was living in, that the wait was on average about 2 hours to get one of these cakes. And over the weekend, you know, some of my coworkers, the Taiwanese girls, their hobby would be to go wait for 2 hours in line.
Yeah,
to wait for one of these cakes.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, when they brought it into the workplace, it actually, I was gonna say it was on par with the other one, but it was actually worse than the other shop that they kept going to. But to them, they were actually more proud that they had gotten the cake and taken pictures of it and sending it to people on their line accounts and stuff, and than actually eating a delicious cake, which I thought was really, really interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And very often I'll be with Chinese people and there'll be a restaurant that is empty or has a few people inside, and next to it there'll be a restaurant that's full with a waiting list.
Right.
And they'll all want to go to the full restaurant. They don't want to go to the empty one, and their reasoning is, of course, oh, that one must be really good and that's why it's full. Right. So it's not about convenience, it's about how full it is. Okay, so that more or less explains that phenomenon. Watch out for these buses.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him go because he cut me off.
All right. But now let's talk about the actual fact that they absolutely love crowds.
Okay.
I'm going to first of all tell you about the Chinese New Year flower garden experience, and I'm going to put up some footage over here. And it's absolutely insane. I mean, if you as a Westerner go there, you won't believe it because it's so crowded and people are literally pushing and shoving you. Like, you've got people pressing their bodies up against you and pushing you along in this kind of queue. And people aren't actually really going there to buy anything. It's to go there to have this experience of being pushed around and jostled around, and taking photos of being pushed around and jostled around. And it's this whole look at this massive crowd and how much fun we're having because everyone's out and it's all real now,
Right.
And in fact, it's not even possible to buy stuff there because it's such a freaking crowd that if you try to buy something, you just can't.
Right. Yeah, I've been to a few flower markets here, and I've actually managed to weasel my way out of it this year because it was not fun, but it was an interesting experience the first time.
Yeah.
But you never want to go again because as a Westerner with like a kind of a bubble around you, right? We have personal space.
Yeah.
You're touched constantly and jabbed and elbowed and pushed.
Yeah.
And everyone else, it's weird. You get this like road rage, and it's almost unfair because you look around and you're the only person that's having a bad time.
Yeah, everybody's just loving it. They think it's amazing, and
it's a positive thing.
Totally. Do we go up here? No, it's the next one.
No, we go to the next one.
Yeah, next one, Twirly Willy. For me, it's incredibly frustrating, to be honest, this whole crowd Renao mentality, but it's the way China is, and you have to just accept that if you're going to live here.
For
that
sure.
People love crowds. They love to be together with lots of people.
Yeah.
And going back to the beginning of our conversation, I've had friends who have gone overseas, and they say it's boring.
Yeah.
They say it's incredibly boring.
That's a really good point, actually.
Because they go there, and it's true, at night time, the shops close early. If you go out on the streets, you won't see a lot of people out there, right?
Right.
You see a couple of people maybe just doing one or two things, but it's pretty much like a ghost town in most countries.
Yeah, even in big cities sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So for them, they feel bored and scared because there aren't people around, and so I hear a lot of stories about Chinese people saying, oh yeah, I went to America or I went to Australia and it's so boring there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing to do there. It's so boring. There's no one there.
Right.
And then I'm thinking to myself, well, you obviously aren't going out meeting people because, of course, if you know people, there's always something to do, right?
Right.
But yeah, they're just used to being able to walk outside and have access to throngs of people and shops and things.
And like honestly, just being able to walk up to a shop and be able to shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do as a hobby here, especially where I live in Guangdong.
Yeah.
People will just go out with nothing to do that day, and it looks boring in America because they're not, they have no one to shoot the shit with. They'll sit down, have some tea, and just talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess what we're trying to point out here is just to understand the difference in the culture. Over here, people love crowds, being in a crowded place, being jostled around and noisy. They love noise. Noise is a big part of China. Like, you can't get away from the noise. They'll
Go
blare.
there to a cell phone shop.
They blare music very loud. Yeah. People love to talk loudly, and
Right.
have a jovial sort of a time,
Right.
and that's something that you have to realize. It's just part of the culture, whereas we tend to like to have things quiet, don't we?
Yeah.
Hey, are we going on the bridge?
Dahuxi, yeah.
So up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about on this topic, by the way?
Hold on, hold on, let me have a look. Dahuxi is straight.
Yeah, I thought so.
I wanted to say, obviously this is not an absolute. I mean, there are a lot of my Chinese friends that get pissed off when they're in crowds as well.
Yeah.
We're saying as a general thing, as a cultural thing, the idea that a lot of people are outside, and I think sometimes my wife claims that she hates this kind of stuff, but to be honest, she actually does tend to be attracted by crowds.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I heard this place is going to be really crowded. It's awesome. There's a lot of people there, and maybe she doesn't really like the act of waiting, but she does like the act of everything kind of happening, and this item's really popular, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, of course. And it's one of the things that really attracted me to China when I got here the first time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's actually it's cool. It's actually cool in the beginning.
Hey, look, there's a church from my religion episode.
Go check that out.
Hell yeah. And it is nice, especially as a young person.
Yeah.
To be able to go out at any time of night and see people and things, and it is a lot of fun.
Dude, it's awesome.
The older you get, the less time you have for it, to be honest.
I really think we're just speaking on behalf of becoming old men.
Yeah.
Because it was like one of the perks. I loved it.
Yep. So I mean,
And now it's just
that's pretty much Renau in a nutshell. Crowds, the fact that people love to be together and throng together as a mass and go out and do things that other people are doing. And it translates to everything in China. Things like camping.
That's actually an important distinction I wanted to make. Is like, of course, you go to the West and people like to go to a big concert where everyone's moshing around and going crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that's not something that they're going to do all day, and that's what you said. You said it really well, and you said it translates to other things in life. Is that it's always like a concert mosh pit.
Correct. They love
anywhere
it.
you go.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're going camping, if you're going to the beach, anything. There have to be huge crowds. People don't actually like to get away into nature, you know?
Right. Well, if they like the idea of doing it, but they want to be surrounded with other people.
Correct. So
it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's really it. Is there anything you'd like to say to our subscribers before we sign off?
Whether you're an isolated hermit living inside of a cave, or I don't know, someone that lives in their mom's basement and comments on our videos, or somebody that loves to be in the throngs of masses and, you know, headbanging to their favorite metal song and you know, acting like a Chinese person and camping on the beach with 10,000 other people. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe.
Sweet. And whether or not you get driven insane by the massive crowds and the pushing and the shoving, or you really enjoy it, we love you all the same. So keep watching, guys, and you know the drill as always. Stay awesome.